Good evening. This is the Militia Intelligence Report radio news briefing, daily news briefing as well. It is Sunday, July 2nd, 2017. And now, here's your host, Chris Dorsey of the Virginia Militia. Chris?
Hey, thanks, David. And greetings to the body of the people. This is man called Chris Dorsey of the Virginia Militia. And I just wanted to open this broadcast out by telling folks it's always best to keep things simple. And there's an old saying that I like to abide by, because I'm nothing but a flawed human being. So I must have everything broken down in a comprehensible manner. And so the old saying is, keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So when anyone writes any sort of legal document, certainly those who institute or control the document are going to put themselves in control or have this document benefit them. And I'm talking about Constitution for the United States. And so in Article 1, the most important elements of Article 1 have to do with the only two, or the only three levers of political power that really matter. And that is finances, number one, the ability to coin money, to create currency, to monetize debt, to tax. Then, of course, right underneath that is, even if you don't have any money, you can still give your opinion and have your own beliefs and follow your own religious way of life. Your free will is not encumbered by any sort of repercussions for what one may believe or think or say. And then, of course, the collective power of military that is always paid for and manipulated by money, ability to create currency, and then second, of course, that is the political manipulation, the ability for speech, writing, media, even just opinion or talking to your neighbors, the ability to move one to take political action or to stand behind one's belief. So all of that is contained in Article 1, Section 8, and Article 1, Section 9 and 10, and just throughout Article 1 of Constitution for the United States, which is ordained by the people. So when it says, okay, hey, the Congress follows the will of the people, they are directly accountable to them, and there are repercussions if there's a problem, i.e. Article 1, Section 13 of Virginia Constitution, and that talks about the militia. And in redundancy in this document, it states, and in every other document of common law and all natural law of God that's written down, law of nature, law of God, it's the same thing. God's law, nature, law of man. We all come from the same source. God creates man, and man creates government. Government's a two-dimensional creation of man. Man can never be subjected to his own creation. And in the preamble to this document, it says in redundancy, this is ordained by the people for this purpose and that purpose. So, to keep it very simple, there's certain levers of power in the government. And when the people don't have the ability to create their own currency, they lose all power. And, of course, when the government has an occupying army, which is what we have now in a police state, we're broadcasting live from ARPANet or DARPANet, which is the military intelligence tool of our enemy. Skype, Facebook Live. I mean, these are intelligence operations, but we're telling you, number one, this government has failed. It has ceased to be a even proper corporation, and the government must be liquidated. Now we're asking, we've given lawful requirements to the government to stand down, and now we're talking in a different kind of language to the people. We're saying, liquidate this government. We can have tacky commercials like they have for all these liquidation warehouse sales. The liquidation sale can go on for a very long time. It's going to have to. But the assets of all millionaires and billionaires and all corporate and government officers, high-ranking officers in every station, every element of this government, their assets must be liquidated. They've already liquidated the people's. That's what they're living off of. That's what they skim off the top of for their luxurious lifestyle. So the government.
Well, Chris.
Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
Yeah, pardon me for interjecting, but
please.
We talk about minimum wages. There should be a maximum wage. I mean,
right.
The amount of wealth we're talking about these people own, it is absolutely, positively unnecessary. I mean, free markets, I'll tell you about a free market. If a few are able to buy up the entire market and call it theirs, it's not free anymore. See, they try to tell you that if you spout rhetoric about a free market, that's tantamount to communism. But what I just described is a form of communism, because communism is a form of tyranny. They got all these different names and different labels for things that people live under. Me and Chris just call it one thing: treason.
It's treason under this document, which they're the ones that always say this is the law of the land. This isn't the rules for us. This document's the rules for our servants. So we ordain this. I mean, there's some of our God-given rights are enumerated in the Bill of Rights, but our God-given rights are infinite. And we create the government. We are man. We are not, subject to a two-dimensional creation of man. So, David, this manipulation where they say one thing and do another, of course, everything is backwards. We know that. They say that this gang that terrorizes and wages war against the public are there to protect our freedom. So, I mean, I really have never been, there's never been an attempt on my life by anyone other than banking officials, United States senators, United States governors, and people in the executive, or persons in the executive branch, and of course low-level minions who carry out their dirty work. But what I'm saying is that every officer in the government, if you serve in the government, you're guilty of treason. It's that simple. There is nothing lawful or legal or good or not evil about any government or any corporation. That's what I'm saying. It all must go. It must all go. That doesn't mean, your cable television will be gone. It means you get your cable television and you don't have to pay between $60 and $250 a month to have internet and cable connection. It means that comes to you because that's part of the public airways. It means that you no longer are a debt slave, that you do have a say in your government. If you think that voting counts for anything,
God bless
look
you.
into it and please, but if you've thought about it, if you're aware of all the fraud and how they disappear these votes and how every computer in the world can be backdoored into by the Mossad, and not just the Mossad, but other intelligence agencies also on top of the Mossad, who are usually subject to the Mossad or Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. But in any case, they backdoor into every computer and can do anything. If you think anything is real other than, what other people are witnessing and what you can verify, like that I'm sitting in Southside, Virginia, hood adjacent, not meaning I'm directly in the hood, but I'm on the outskirts of the hood, and folks know where I live. They know my name, and they've known me since the day that I was born. Now, you'll see all these other guys talking this thing and that thing, and what do they do with it? You see it? Yep, I'm going to fly around the world. Oh, I'm welcomed in by foreign governments. I make a lot of money. Telling you a bunch of lies. They don't tell you the government must be liquidated. The government must be abolished and the rule of law restored, which only means that every weapon of war needs to be overseen. There doesn't need to be any top secret things where we don't know what kind of weapon the government is using against us. We've already seen enough in the declassified documents to know that the government is at war with us. I was listening to Michael Aquino, an interview with Michael Aquino, who wrote the book called Mind War. He's a former high-ranking officer in the DIA, founder of the Church of Set. A lot of folks who are listening would probably recognize this guy. But he started talking about something, and the fact is that only 5% of, and a lot of scientists and researchers of all kind have verified similar ideas that about the human mind and what the actions of the body are is about 5% of your conscious mind and 95% of your unconscious mind. And Aquino talked about how certain elements of the Soviet and United States intelligence agencies became obsessed and expert at manipulating the subconscious of the masses around the world. And that they have realized that the people have no idea that they're even being manipulated by certain things. We'll take, like, the rainbow flag. That's kind of either positive now, but positive around something that's, I don't know. I don't have anything against any human being, but I don't think it's not really the best. It's usually some sort of weird trauma behind people being a homosexual. God bless them. I got nothing to say bad other than that's my belief. That's what I think, and it's kind of like, I don't necessarily think it's something that people should be thought as heroic for, or horrible.
That's right, Chris. And let me go ahead and say, with the people in charge, those people will be far better off and treated much better. They will be giving proper medical help. And a lot of what we see on television and on the public airways, that will virtually become non-existent because
David, just let me finish this thought real quick because it has to do with this rainbow symbol, and a rainbow flag,
that's important.
And pyramids. Okay, so basically a rainbow flag at this point is pretty much synonymous with a quote-unquote homosexual political agenda. And one thing about rainbows that we've talked about, there's a lot of elements of rainbow in the MK Ultra programming, the so-called Oz or Wizard of Oz programming, the Monarch, MK Ultra programming, Prism programming, etc. But the rainbow has always been known as having a hypnotic effect on the people. It taps into the subconscious as soon as you gaze upon the rainbow, and it has a hypnotic effect, which means it is something that is effective at putting someone into a state where their brains can be imprinted, their subconscious can be manipulated. So that's something very interesting to do with rainbows, and I'm not afraid to utilize these tools. And of course, pyramids, which is now associated with whatever this vague Illuminati thing, which is a cover that the international organized Jewish crime family that runs the planet puts out to people to distract them. And a pyramid is something very beneficial to look at, to gaze upon. It's a mind strengthener, and it is something that's an ancient sacred symbol for all parts of the world. They find pyramids everywhere. So it's only certain places where it's positive for the powerful to use something for bad, but it's negative for the good to use some sort of symbol for good. Just like the swastika or the cross of St. Andrew or the cross of Lorraine. These ancient symbols of our ancestors are used by our enemies in order to utilize the power that these symbols have, but also make it so it's, in some cases, illegal to use these powerful symbols for our own benefit. And this is part of the subconscious psychological warfare, and what their attempt to do is to kill you and demoralize you every step of the way. We're all gonna die. We're all going to pass on from this plane of existence that we have right now. But then the question becomes, what are you gonna do in the meantime? Are you gonna spend all of your time, attempting to extend the length of your debt slavery? Are you going to find new ways to black out the obvious facts that almost everyone we're talking to is a complete servant to a psychotic government, or
a subject?
If you just want to say the devil, I don't know. I mean, the base instincts of the worst human beings, as far as moral standing or psychological health, are basically enslaving everyone for the majority of their lives. Is that? I don't know if that's what folks want. I'm not. It's not what I want. I mean, this disgusts me to go along with this system. I reject pretty much all of it, David. I don't know, what folks really think is great about any of this stuff. I mean, the more we learn about, the tricks being played against us by the system. I mean, just, David, think about hypnosis and the flicker rate of a television screen now. And think about how they forced everyone to buy this new manufactured television when even the old televisions had patents on them to put hypnotic patterns in the flicker rates on the television screens. I mean, you and I know, we've talked a lot about this. What do you think about that, and what do you think about this new technology? I mean,
I don't even know what. Excuse me. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, I mean, just like something brief, just to say, like, okay, what's the answer to this? The answer is to find out exactly what they're doing to us. Well, first, it's to stop those who are in control of these operations. We know what their names are. We know where they're working. And the second is to find out exactly what they've done. And the third is to arrest, first, obviously, arrest all these government officials and corporate officials. But there must be a mass trial for these folks. We've already put them on trial, David.
Now that we put them on trial, we must project legitimacy, kind of like we are now. I mean, think about we go back to the public airways as we were talking about earlier. Now, along with promoting positive thought through television, once the people have control of television, that means that you might see ideas like me and Chris have on the nightly news. I mean, see, I've never thought of myself as a reporter or any kind of messenger or any of that. It's just I see around me there's a lack of people saying what needs to be said, and if I'm the only one doing it, I'm going to go against a lot of what I would have never done 2 years ago, and commence to doing it just to tell you, the listener, what me and Chris are attempting to talk about and say that it is time. I mean, you've seen, those of you who've been following us for a long time, you've seen all the evidence on his previous YouTube channel. A lot of it was so damning to them they just had to scrub it. But they know it's not going to stop us, and why should it? I mean, all they're doing is anything they can, and all we're doing is anything we can.
Well, that's right, David. One thing I would say is this is I don't want to say this is me and anyone else. This is, I mean, we've done it. We've shown you. We've showed you how to do everything. We've showed you how to carry out lawful actions, military actions against the United States military, the United States Secret Service, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, every city, state, and federal government agency in the United States, of course, and around the world, and their source. And we do it with them opening up the door and doing it on their property, which is our property, because we know our legal standing. They say, "Oh, look at Chris. See all these federal agents and undercover agent provocateurs." They say, "Oh, look at Chris. Nobody else can get away with doing that to a Secret Service agent or a cop or the chief of police, giving them stand-down orders, requiring that they hand over their weapons. Nobody else can call up the Federal Reserve Bank and tell them that they're guilty of treason and then go on international television at the Virginia State Capitol with the Federal Reserve Bank building in my background and say, every government official and every official of the Federal Reserve Bank is guilty of treason. They must be arrested and punished to the fullest extent of the law." It's a joke. Folks ask, like, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about this lady or this man? I'm like, they're a joke. They're a joke. And why are they a joke? Because they don't do what the obvious resistance would do.
They're not whistleblowing.
Controlled.
They're not whistleblowing on anything. I mean, who the hell came up with that word? Hey, Chris, I think I've told you this before. You know, I'm a whistleblower. Listen. I'm a whistleblower. Will they talk about me 100 times on the news and say I'm guilty of treason?
Right. No, they'll just remove any sort of they'll try to erase you. They only create these real strange weirdo characters to become the actual whistleblowers. I mean, I've had contact with some A-level whistleblowers, some B-level whistleblowers, and like Kathy Griffin, what is my life on the D-list of whistleblowers? I mean, they got it for every level, David. You know that they've got their military operation on lockdown. They're very busy in Fort Bragg, and they have they get their orders from a even bigger computer sweatshop operation in Israel. And of course, we got the Chabad Lubavitch operation in Russia as well, and in the United States and every other country. So we know they got this all on lockdown. So when is somebody besides us, and I'm not just talking about the two of us, I'm just talking about anyone who has worked with us in the past. And I mean, I'm not afraid to say certain people that we've done a lot of work with, like Glenn Sutphin. I mean, we did even some great work on Renegade Broadcasting, even though that's a controlled opposition, limited hangout, federal operation run by Jews, homosexuals, and drug addicts. But, hey, nobody's perfect. But, I mean, it's been over the years, Silver Persinger, we've documented, Shirley Harvey and we filed a federal lawsuit about election fraud in Richmond, Virginia, during a year when there were 5 precincts that recorded 0 votes. That means a precinct in Richmond is probably about 2,500 people. So that means that each of these 5 precincts, these individuals woke up at the crack of dawn to go waste their time, having their vote just disappear. That doesn't count. Not like any of them count. But there's so much verified evidence, and we filed federal lawsuit in that case. We verified it with the TV, with the WTVR, Channel 6. Oh, yeah, we see it, Chris. It's 8 days after the election, and it's showing 0 votes in 5 different precincts in the city of Richmond. And that was just the tip of the iceberg with the election fraud. That was just what they couldn't hide. Then we got these email trails of how extensive the attempt was to cover up this fact. And also, the sad fact was we were the only ones who noticed. It's a public document, David. And they had 5 whole precincts recording 0 votes. And there were only 3 people that I knew of, and now hundreds of thousands of people know about those 5 precincts that recorded 0 votes. But at the time, only 3 knew about it. We told all of the media, David. You know what they did? Nothing. Not a thing. You have to be an idiot to think your vote counts now. Who out there? We're on Facebook Live. Somebody type in to the comment section, only if you believe it, that you think voting is real, that you think the people have any rights, and you think that the weapons of war and the money is best in the hands that it is in now. Please tell me, because I don't think it could get much worse.
I'll tell you what, if you think that, you'll be the first to be locked up when the people are in charge.
Well,
so to speak.
You see, I mean, we wouldn't even do that. It's like, why would we waste our time with this? All we wish to have is they're meaningless. Everybody's got an opinion. We would never lock anybody up for their opinion. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, and all this is anonymous. But what I'm saying is, you know, there's all this popular movement about, oh, Trump's got to go. Oh, no. Oh, no Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. Oh, no. Jeff Sessions has to recuse himself. Oh, Rod Rosenstein really has to recuse himself. Does Donald Trump have any Russian connections? I don't know. And right
Special
after
prosecutor.
asking these questions, he allegedly is being shown giving top secret information to Russian officials. I mean, come on. That's how they're fooling you and tricking you. And we see how mesmerized by and I'll use them too. I definitely will. I'm not messing around with anyone, but you see that it's funny how the one that Donald Trump always gives is the one that has most to do with imposing will and most to do with trauma-based mind control. And that's that a lot of people call it the 666 symbol. I don't even want to do it. But, you know, it's that okay symbol. And a lot, you know, I know some degenerate Jews out there who like to go, oh, it's a Freemasons, it's Illuminati, it's the one world guy, you know, like Russian vids out there who we've exposed as Ben Lyashenko, the Jew out in the Ukrainian Jew out in California. He said I was Freemason or anything like that because I do this. Now, if you watch television, everybody is doing this. I'm just letting y'all in on some secrets. And, hey, this will work at your place of employment, too. You see, I am not involved in other people's ploys. I
It
don't
makes you
really
look
like ploys
authoritative
at all. But I do want to give some folks some advice. If you want to move up, you don't really have to do much. Be competent. But if you combine competence with doing these sorts of things with your hands while you're talking, you'll move much farther ahead. And people will think that you are an authority figure. Because if you know this information, you in a way are. You see, they keep people at different levels of knowledge about how things really work. And at the end of the day, we know that if you take away all of the bells and whistles behind this government and the hypnosis that we've been talking about and the trillions of dollars in the black budget account to wage war and carry out the largest worldwide slavery operation with components not limited to sex slavery, child sex slavery, killing people for organ trafficking purposes, clandestine drug operations, psychological warfare, actual warfare, chemical warfare against the people, chemical, human, and animal testing that to the extent to which that until we gain control of this government, if you think you know about all the sick experiments that they've done over time, what we know and what we've put out there will make your skin crawl. And I am confident that we are going to be shocked when we find out the latest information, the latest top secret information. Because this is an all-time level where the sickest individuals are in charge and are waging war against us all.
and they're trying to reveal it to us. That's why this stuff is getting so well known. I mean, it's not like a few guys got together and then
David,
it got out of control.
Let's talk about why they do that. Let's talk about why they do that.
Well,
because
go ahead.
because of the magic that they're using, their dark arts, their black magic, they must reveal themselves. It's like their magic wouldn't be as powerful if they didn't leave their calling cards. So we know that all these serial killers and satanic cults and child sacrificing cults and these groups and organizations that make snuff films and other kinds of sick, illegal pornography. I'm not saying pornography is illegal. I'm saying this kind of pornography that they're making is illegal, and is the crime is worse than the actual documenting of the crime. But they want to let us know that they're doing this, so they leave this out there, and that's why they have to carry it out. They have to leave their calling card. So when these serial killers carry out their crimes, they leave their calling card. It's like, you know, when a kid tells a lie and they wish to get caught. These guys wish to get caught, but not that they want to be stopped. They don't wish to be stopped. They wish for their actions to be successful and propagating. So that's why they carry out these attacks. We'll use the attacks of September 11th, when George Bush was in that schoolroom in Florida, in that elementary schoolroom in Florida, and the teacher was getting these children to read out the words and repeat them 3 times. You know, kite, steal, plane, must, hit. Repeating those words and several others. And of course, then they opened the book, My Pet Goat. Okay, obviously, oh, that's Baphomet, and that's this, that's part of it. That's part of it. You know, that's part of the ritual. But them filming it, I mean, they could have done the ritual without filming it. But the filming it lets us know. And by us knowing, and that being in our brain, and us thinking, wow, they do have magical powers, then their magical powers become self-fulfilling prophecies. You know, there's much more to it than that, but that's just my take right this second. I mean, I talk about this stuff very often, but these are tricks. They're sleight of hand. They're psychological manipulation.
Think about 911. You know, as an emergency, and 9/11 was a big emergency. 911.
Right. 911 emergency. Dial 911. What is that number? What does that number invoke at this point, even before September 11th? See, that's what I'm talking about. When you just say these numbers in a short, you know, in a stretch together, these powerful numbers, then it creates a sense of anxiousness and fear that is palpable, but it's only palpable in the subconscious of the human mind. There's volumes written on this. We're scratching the surface, but what we're saying is it's all manipulation. There's volumes written on manipulating the unconscious mind. There's a book called Mind War, written by this guy Aquino. There's books that like a lot of books that I've read. I'll use the book Guerrilla Warfare by Che Guevara as an example of that's a book purely about self-discipline and psychology. But or books, you know, about Zen, or even books written by folks like Timothy Leary or Robert Anton Wilson.
Yeah, CIA agents. But they were fed some good knowledge. Whether it was theirs or from something else that they got it from.
It was something that they usually were co-opting.
Right.
I mean, a lot of these guys, Leary and many of his colleagues, they were Harvard professors. They were doctors at Harvard. So we know that this is where these college system, I mean, like, hey, VCU's like a mile and a half down the street, Virginia Commonwealth University. That's the first school in the United States to have a major called Department of Homeland Security. So these colleges have always been a hotbed for this military intelligence operation. So, and that these families that have this special knowledge, they're in general co-opted by this criminal nature, by this criminal system. I mean, don't believe folks out there like Fritz Springmeier who says all these families are the problem and that they're running the world right now, and he puts like, 4 or 5 Jewish families on there. I mean, give me a break. And some of them are that he has on there are actual legitimate, descendants of the actual royal families of Europe. And I can tell you, there is no legitimate royal line in Europe anymore. It doesn't exist. There are lines in the United States that have remained somewhat pure, that are descendants of the actual royal lines of the United Kingdom and Western Europe. But they're not the ones that say that they're the kings and queens of these countries now, including Spain. They're imposters. They're Jewish plants. And that's the fact of the matter. And folks can prove this through genetic testing, and this will be a very important aspect of what we're doing, because this has been a spiritual #1 war that these occultists, dark occultists, black magicians have waged against us. We talk about the court system and black magic. That's all they use. They summon you like you're a dead body.
Yeah, court-ordered summons.
That's not the way things work. Go ahead, David.
No, a court-ordered summons. That's all I was trying to say. To give people the idea whenever you say they summon you. You get a summons to court because they look at you on the piece of paper as a dead body. I mean, the courts, they're not run by the law of the land, as they call it, the Constitution for the United States. And notice I said law of the land because it's the law you follow when you're on land. Now, you follow maritime law and you're at sea. Maritime means, on a boat, in a ship. In these courtrooms, they follow maritime law. They're set up like a ship's galley. And the judge, he's got his black robe, looks like the most high priest, looking down upon you, handing out his sentencing, that he's casting a spell on you. And what do you do with, how do you make words? You spell them. He's using his words. I mean, this is not coming from me. This is just, I've been looking into this for so long, I'm able to...
Right, and he gives you a sentence, too,
yeah.
Right? The judge gives you a sentence.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm able to say all this now without tying my tongue because, everything's in the meaning of words, as me and Chris talk about. Everything is in the meaning of them.
Exactly. It's all words. In the beginning was the Word.
And they've been able to use their words to convince us that they are of the Most High authority. Now,
Right, David. Key point here. What we've said to them all when we face them down on the street is, oh, no, you're not. We are. And when we take a look at them, and when I do this to a judge or a lawyer or a cop, I see them shaking. And when we go out there and we armed, outflank everyone whenever we choose, and they tell us, you got to move from there. I say, no, I don't. I'm behind you now, and now you've been outflanked. We basically we've shown you everything. We've shown you everything. If you think that this is a big, bad group of individuals that are heroic and anything else, these are the worst. This is a worst criminal gang, and I'm talking about the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the police, the Central Intelligence, the intelligence agencies of the world, the NSA, the Mossad, and
the military.
When they look like they're out there and they're wielding around their automatic weapons and they're walking down the street in every town USA, every city USA, and it looks like America has turned into a war zone, there's a good reason for that. Because there is an offensive military operation against all of you, including and especially me.
And me.
Carried out. Well, I mean, yeah, you too, David. But, David, is DHS and Secret Service snatching you off the street?
Not yet. I hope not.
I hope it doesn't. We can't have more people other than this. What I'm saying is it's
unacceptable.
It's unacceptable for this country to appear as if it's a war zone, because it is only a war zone based on exclusively the offensive moves against the American people by this government, which is the United States government, which is controlled by Israel, which is controlled by NATO, which is controlled by the United Nations, which are all controlled by the Bank for International Settlements. But in any event, when you follow the chain of command, there is an offensive operation called Operation CONUS Base, Continental United States Base. David, how many times did we document them training to shut down cities, shut down parts of cities? Look, after that staged Boston bombing, they put the fourth largest metropolitan city in the United States on lockdown. After that staged Freddie Gray, State of Gray, Gray State, 50 Shades of Freddie Gray staged event in Baltimore, they shut down Baltimore and brought in the National Guard for nothing and broadcast it on live television, prime time, night after night after night.
Sounds like war against the people. And let me tell you something, this is nothing new. Now, we talk about phony war so much. The war on terror is no exception. But, we've talked about, as far back as World War I. Well, let's talk about World War II. And around the year 1942, Los Angeles, practically the largest metropolitan city at the time, on the West Coast at least, there were certain times during months period. I can't remember exactly when, but that's not important. What's important is sirens sounding all throughout the night, with searchlights aimed in the sky, and the residents of Los Angeles in 1942, what did they have to endure? Well, the power was cut and everything was blacked out. So, even in 1942, the federal government was attempting to shut down entire cities. Why? Just because they could. I mean, there was never no aerial attack on mainland USA. Yeah, Pearl Harbor, because not only that was provoked, but that was staged. And there's a lot of nefarious purposes we can go into Pearl Harbor. I mean, that's been documented as saying that Roosevelt, if he didn't plan for it, he wanted it to happen to thrust the United States into war. Because why? People at that time were still smart. They knew that war was not in our best interest. But history today, you watch the History Channel, they'll tell you that, the American people, they could not conceive of such a threat Hitler was. They could not conceive of such a threat the Japanese were. Whenever those were, if they were our enemies at all, they were manufactured. But you see, even people knew in those days that yes, this is going to lead to, I mean, because, pre-war, let's say, the war started December 7th, 1941. Well, let's talk about 1937 and 1941, between those time periods. The government, at the time, was telling its people, raising higher taxes, income, your wages that you earned started being taxed because of the war effort. It was only supposed to be temporary. They kept telling their people, well, we need more planes for defensive purposes. Oh, we need more planes to ship to England because we're going to stay out of the war. Gradually, they kept building up until, you know what? We have all this might. We might as well use it. We must commit troops to war. And same thing in Vietnam. Same thing in the Gulf War. Same thing in the Iraq War for oil. Same thing in Afghanistan for bin Laden, which he's allegedly dead now. And we know bin Laden wasn't bin Laden. It was Tim Osman, some Jew in New York. And by the way, that was many different pictures of bin Laden, of all six of them we saw.
Bin Laden, the skinny bin Laden, the bin Laden who dyed his beard, the Wahhabi bin Laden who loved gold jewelry. Yeah, David. Hey, let's talk a little bit about how these wars are always financed, all sides of them, especially World War II, which you were just talking about, by the Bank for International Settlements, and the fact that the Bank for International Settlements was being run in Basel, Switzerland, which is right on the border of Germany and Switzerland, and it was being run by an American named Thomas McCutcheon, another Harvard professor, Harvard Law, of course. He was a lawyer. And the Bank for International Settlements was meeting daily throughout, before, during, and after the war, with membership, obviously, from the United States, Canada, Great Britain, Germany, Italy, France, etc., etc. So all of the sides, and not just were these folks meeting together, all they were doing was running bank transfers between Berlin and London and New York and Moscow, etc., et al. So, I mean, I don't know what else you can say, because whoever, when, I guess Slobodan Milosevic was the last guy who was like really the head of an established country that was held made to hold to account for like losing a war. They said that Saddam Hussein was killed, but again, which Saddam Hussein? I mean, there was 6 of them, and there were really some unusual and impossible anomalies about his execution too. So, I mean, folks, if you believe what's going on, other than the fact that everything is a distraction and a deception, except for the fact that you've lost all your rights, this country and this world is an abomination. It's like hell on earth, with who's running what. Because if you really think about it, the worst thing about it, all of this is folks go, I just want to help. How can I help? And then you'll see all these commercials on television for the Humane Society or feeding orphans in Africa. And
Grace at the green
light. The problem with all that is those groups that act as if they're helping these animals and helping these children, they're the ones that sell them into slavery and also like brutalize the animals in order to raise money. That's the kind of individuals you're looking at, because again, you look at all the governments and how they leverage this power. The United States and Israel and the Bank for International Settlements carried out the 9/11 attacks. They short-sold the market. They created over $1 trillion in insurance fraud. They waged a priceless war for their agenda. Look at Vladimir Putin, bombs apartment buildings, organizes the GRU and the FSB, the remnants of the KGB, to carry out this attack. Then he comes into power right at the turn of the new millennia and uses this staged apartment bombing that he and his associate Tabad Lubavitch intelligence agencies inside the Russian government to wage war in Chechnya, to have their own war on terrorism in Russia. It's the same pattern. So, and we all know, I mean, that was another thing that they couldn't have is, documenting week after week that they had to cut us off as much as they could. Because it's we all know that Vladimir Putin's not only a Jew, he's also one of these child rapists. So, I mean, that's what we've documented and put it out there, and that's what they do. We're not just calling for our government to be abolished. We're calling for, we want to see Vladimir Putin dragged and all of his Jewish compatriots dragged in front of our court. We want them here in the colonies, or we can travel to part of our kingdom. We can travel to Ireland and try them there, the seat of justice, the seat of world justice, because no one loves justice like the Irish, because that's the basis of our culture and society, is the law and the enforcement and adherence to the law and justice and doing the right thing. Oh yeah, we'll drag these Jews in front of our court from all around the world. But it's certainly not going to happen in any illegitimate bar association court, which is practicing, as David said, maritime law. We'll practice common law, Brehen law. We'll practice God's law. We'll practice natural law and the law of reality. And it's time to move on these convictions. They've already been convicted. They've been convicted. And it's been seen by more people than most other court cases. All their convictions. It's there for everyone to see. Every night on the news.
We just need to
Every night when you see this Operation Mockingbird farce on the Zionist-controlled media outlets.
We need a real court by the people.
No, David.
People can rally.
We have it. This is a court. I'm not going to diminish what I do, because those who oppose me and the majority are saying, well, hey, I like these guys who, take all my money and threaten me with guns.
Well, what I mean
I don't
is,
care.
What if you imagine, these, like you say, they already have these public housing projects there. What about the same way we talk about the public housing projects to put all these people in, after we done put them on trial, we also use their courtrooms. That's what I'm talking about real court. You know, these courtrooms.
Oh, right.
They've already set.
That's what we're talking about.
They've already set up these these institutions.
How about, David, these are simple concepts. So we start political movements. We just say them, and then they're started. And one is, well, there's a movement to liquidate the government. Have you heard about the movement to liquidate the government? It's failed. It's a failed business. What do you do with the failed business? You got to liquidate it. Why? Because it's failed. Okay, it's failed as a corporation. But another thing is, we have to get them to hand us over this authority, David. What I'm attempting to say is that we don't necessarily have the means by which to enforce what we're doing or saying, but when we put it out there and say, okay, well, everything else is a waste until the individuals in charge of our government vacate their positions. See, nothing is going to change until these individuals have vacated their positions of authority. So we start, organizing things on our website coming up, and we'll give out arrest warrants. We can put wanted signs. Put wanted signs for every corporate official and every government official in every city, state, and town. So people will see it. So when they see them in the grocery store, they'll shun them, or they won't associate with them, or they'll videotape them, and they'll say, "You're a criminal. We got you on tape. Here, we're going to put it on this video channel where it is watchingthegovernment.com." Or, as we've been saying, and hundreds of thousands of people have heard, that we gain control of all of these surveillance apparatus, and we put 24-hour, 7-day-a-week surveillance on those who are in charge of this surveillance apparatus. And then we shut down the necessity for a surveillance apparatus. What I'm saying is, there needs to be a movement to call for an end of this government. We have led the way. We've showed you how to do every aspect of it.
And I don't want to hear any more of our founding fathers. I don't want to hear any more of our founding fathers didn't anticipate the rise in technology or the police state or the military-industrial complex. They damn well predicted, or they damn well foresaw totalitarian rule, no matter what form it came in, because this is nothing new. It's not an outdated document what we're talking about. This isn't a new idea. The idea is just it's not being applied. That's what we're trying to.
That's right, David.
What we're talking about. People may listen and say, "Oh, Chris, David, we already have that. What you're talking about, really? How's the Constitution working for you?" They still raise their right hand and take an oath to it, but yet I see them violating it every day. Have we become too ignorant and too unknowing and unaware that they violate the law? Well, why? Because in the public fool system, there's no course on the Constitution. There's no course on law. And I try to use this concept as well. If we're going to be a nation of so many laws and so many statutes, don't you think that they would have certain courses or classes and encourage people ways to follow the law and avoid having to pay outrageous fines, excessive bails, which go against U.S. code, and then because you were caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, you got to endure cruel and unusual punishment? Does that sound like a government that cares about you, that makes all these statutes and then gives you no fighting chance?
Well, David, absolutely, you're correct there. But we wouldn't have the largest prison population in the history of humanity that's growing every day. We wouldn't have an epidemic of women being locked up. Who has to lock up women? I mean, like, I don't think we have to lock up anything, even animals. You know, I'm for animal rights because, you know, we're all animals and we're all God's creatures. But, I mean, what kind of society needs to lock up women at such a rate as we're doing? I mean, that's crazy.
That's right. And I tell you what, if people are able to go their own way without having a treasonous government look down them all the time, not only life will improve, but it might, who knows, it might start to get be a little more pleasant and be easier to get along with your neighbor and your fellow person.
I definitely think it's going to be easier to get along, David, and I think that that's a key point. I'm running low on my battery, so you know, we should probably cut it. I know we've been talking for a while.
We said a lot.
Yeah, we said a lot tonight, and we'll say more tomorrow. I mean, I know. Thanks, David. I know you got to get up not long from now and go into work. So thanks for staying up late, and we're gonna broadcast earlier tomorrow. So hey, we'll see what happens tomorrow. If anything happens, we'll break the news here, and you know, they haven't kept us off of YouTube completely, so we're on there. Check out Militia Intelligence Report on YouTube. Militia Intelligence Report on YouTube. Check out Irina Linkova on YouTube. HLON.
She mirrors our videos.
Yeah, she mirrors the videos. HLINKOVA. Sorry. And I mean, Nelga on YouTube. Militia Intelligence. Ziggy Kelleher on YouTube. Clifford Eberhardt on YouTube. The Militia Intelligence Report is David's channel. It's a good channel, so subscribe to that. I'm going to start uploading on that more. I'm going to hopefully start doing that.
Well, that makes it your channel, too.
Yeah. So
this is the new Richmond piece. The Militia Intelligence Report channel is the new Richmond piece. It's a public channel.
That's the new Richmond piece channel. And a lot, you know, we did lose a lot of videos, but we still have hundreds and hundreds of videos archived still on the internet on YouTube now, and also on my computer and on memory cards that I have safely stored. So that's about it for tonight, y'all, and I appreciate David all the work you have done, and we'll be back tomorrow. I'll sign out saying peace and God bless.
This concludes our daily briefing, our daily broadcast on Facebook, which will become more often. So till tomorrow, good night, everyone.